College of Pharmacy. I am Ms. Janvi Madhvi and my co-host Prajwal Raut welcome you all to our third webinar in the Research Connect series, Science, Innovation and Social Impact. I am Ms. Janvi Madhvi and my co-host Prajwal Raut working on a research problem organized by BS College of Pharmacy. Our respected principal, Dr. Supriya Shide ma'am, and our speaker for the session, Mrs. Ruchi Singh. And I also extend my welcome to the faculty members of VS College of Pharmacy, students and the participants. The vision of VS College of Pharmacy is to create competent pharmacist professionals who have positive impact on the healthcare of the society. With this vision, we always strive hard to provide an academically conductive and research-oriented learning environment. Today's webinar is another step towards giving the right guidance to research aspirants just when they are about to begin their research journey. With this brief note, I feel privileged to introduce Dr. Mrs. Supriya Shide, Principal of VS College of Pharmacy, on this occasion. With this brief note, I feel privileged to introduce.
Hello, good afternoon, and I welcome all the delegates on behalf of VS College of Pharmacy for today's very special type of topic entitled Science, Innovation, Social Impact Working on a Research Problem. So when we read this topic, we realize that this topic is going to deal with science, its importance, while identifying a research problem, the innovation or creativity that is involved in this problem, and its social impact, whether this particular problem that we have taken up is going to give some solution for the problem which is being faced currently by the community, in what way that is going to have a social impact. So the idea behind organizing this webinar was that we wanted to really make our MPharm students think differently, or for that matter, even the research students at PhD level, to think differently and identify a research problem which would have far better outreach when it comes to the patentability, when it comes to its application, industrial commerciability, and most importantly, whether it is going to give us some problem solution to the societal problem. And the mastermind or the genesis of this particular idea or the topic itself has come from today's resource person, Mrs. Ruchi. So Mrs. Ruchi, I'm very proud to share at this moment with the audience that she is our own alumni. She has done her B.Pharm and M.Pharm from VS College of Pharmacy. But right from her graduation and post-graduation stage, we have seen that kind of creative bent of mind in her profile. She always think differently. She has always thought differently, out of box, I can call it as. And at very early stage of her life, she decided to become an entrepreneur. And she ventured into her own startup. And that startup also is doing a very good work. They have now, when you hear about her resume and her introduction, you all would come to know that they have received lot of awards in the past at various pitch desks. That itself talks about their different way of thinking and picking up the problem from the community and addressing the problem by giving some impactful solution to it in the form of drug delivery system. So we thought there cannot be anybody better than Ruchi who can deliver her talk on this topic, because I think she is the person having a right balance of very good foundation of science, good creativity and innovation, and concern for societal issues, and trying to provide some solution to this problem through her research. So with this brief introduction about the topic, I would like to hand over this floor to our resource person Ruchi. Over to you, Janvi. You please take the program forward. I wish all the best to all of you all, and hoping that this is going to be very fruitful discussion for all of you. Thank you so much. Be very fruitful discussion for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for your motivational words and emphasizing on focus of a researcher and the key attribute needed to carry out the research work. Before we begin,
Very fruitful discussion for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for your motivational words. And before we begin with the session, we request the audience to please post your questions in the chat box. These questions will be answered at the end of the session. Mrs. Ruchi, I would like to introduce the resource person for today. It is an honor privilege to have amongst us Mrs. Ruchi Singh. Mrs. Ruchi Madam is a pharma professional by degree and technopreneur by passion. She has 5 years of experience in pharmaceutical product development. She is equipped with cutting edge technology. With a passion for building innovation products, she co-founded 2 startups to solve problems in healthcare with technology. She is a B Pharma and M Pharma alumnus of VS College of Pharmacy and worked as an assistant professor at her alma mater. She was innovator for BIRAC project. At present, she is a PhD scholar at DISPA University, Delhi. She is also the founder, director at Relkis Healthcare Private Limited, Mumbai, and co-founder and chief technology officer, Cerelia NutriTrek Private Limited, New Delhi. Her startup is recognized as one of the top 500 global deep tech startups under Hello Tomorrow Global Summit 2019, Paris, France. She is awarded as Startuppreneur of the Year, Life Sciences and Healthcare category at CII Future Global Business Forum 2018, sponsored by Jubilant Life Sciences. She was the co-principal investigator in funding received from the Pfizer India under the Pfizer IIT Delhi Innovations and IP program. Grand Challenges Canada under Stars in Global Health Round 9. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation under Grand Challenges Exploration Health Round 9. Supported by DBT BIRAC Government of India and implemented by IKP Knowledge Park. She has received multiple awards, recognitions, felicitations under CII 13 program 2017. The Social Enterprises Challenges 2017-18. Will grow unconventional Hyderabad, India. She has been granted a PCT patent on composition for transdermal delivery of micronutrients and method of preparation thereof. She has 3 international publications and 1 book chapter to her credit. She has also delivered several invited talks and conducted various training sessions for students like us. It's indeed a privilege and a learning for us to witness the success that Mrs. Ruchi has achieved at a young age. I now request Mrs. Ruchi Singh to take over the session for the talk on science innovation and social impact, working on a research problem. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Manvi, for the warm introduction and warm welcome. Thank you, ma'am, and my alma mater, Westcop, for having me here. It's always a pleasure interacting with students and faculty members of Westcop. I'll just quickly share my screen and then probably like we can start. Okay, is my presentation visible? Okay, I'll have to. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, as Supriya ma'am mentioned, the genesis of the topic came from me. Now, social innovation is something which is really very close to heart. This is something that I have been working on for the past 5 to 6 years without deviating from my another love for that is love for research and pharma. So when we were having a discussion, and there was a discussion about what improvements we can make in research culture, what how the institute can become better in terms of research and innovation. So I thought, generally what pharma students, what M.Pharm scholars, PhD scholars, they do is, be it in pharmacology, be it chemistry, or be it pharmaceutics, it is generally we are trying to solve some technical problem, probably some bioavailability issue with a drug, or solubility issue with the drug, or maybe we are trying looking for newer methods of synthesis, reducing the cost. We are trying to solve all industrial problems, but then we fail to realize, we being healthcare professionals, we somehow forget that there's a social impact that we can make deploying by deploying our technology. Over the past few decades, a lot of technology progress has happened, especially in the healthcare domain. A lot of medical devices have come up. The number of formulations or products in the market have increased by a huge number. However, still there are a lot of pressing problems which are still prevailing in the society for both the healthcare professional as well as the patients. Even government is announcing a lot of new policies which would help in dealing with these healthcare issues, but still somehow the problem seems to be unsolved, and every day a new problem comes up. The global healthcare as a whole is facing a lot of crisis, and these are multiple, and they are very community specific, they are very geography specific, and some things which are global, like the global pandemic that we are currently facing. So even though there are so many advances, there are still millions of people in low and middle income countries who do not have proper access to affordable and quality healthcare services. And therefore, whatever advancements are happening, it's not really benefiting them. So this is a major challenge ahead of us that we as healthcare professionals, we as researchers, we as pharmacists have in hand, have ahead of us, and we need to solve. Now, generally, our attention is we think about what about the healthcare delivery, but barely we think about how. So probably it's time that we move our attention from what and take it towards how we can get a scientifically proven technology or an intervention which could help the most marginalized population. There are so many rare diseases which generally big giants do not work on, because the population which is affected by such diseases are very low, very less in number, so the profit margins will definitely be lower. So how we can ensure that these communities, these marginalized people, or the healthcare workers or the patients, how they can benefit from the research that we are doing. So social innovation is one thing. Probably it might be a new term for some of you, or it might be something which is familiar for some of you. So social innovation is the answer how we can solve this problem. Social innovation is nothing but some sort of an innovation wherein the innovator is doing just for, just the outcome is just for the people. It's for the betterment of the society, to make world a better space. And what better could be healthcare social innovation. And we as healthcare professionals have this advantage, I would say, or maybe the gift to make impact in lives of so many people, to bring positive change in lives of so many people. Now, let us understand what exactly is this social innovation. Now, when I talk about social innovation, it's a very broad perspective, but today I would like to just discuss about social innovation in health. So, social innovation is in healthcare is nothing but when you are giving solutions to complex problems. Now, social innovation makes you think, it gives you an alternate lens to look at what are the problems there in the society and how you can bring out solutions to them. Social innovation is also a realization that the innovation does not only come from scientists like us or engineers or probably doctors, but then it can come from anyone. It can come from anyone. It can come from the person who is facing that problem. It does not matter from what societal background you belong, what educational background you belong. So you can probably solve, we as a pharmacist can probably solve a problem of engineering, which is of societal concern. Or an engineer, I know a lot of engineers who are working into medical devices, drug delivery systems, because they have realized that there is an impact to be made. Social innovation is also, it can, we need to realize that it can take multiple forms. It need not be just a product. When I am innovating, like I call myself a social innovator, I am into product development. But then that is not the only way that you can, make an impact and call yourself a social innovator. There can be many multiple things. It could be a process, it could be a service that you are, maybe it's a policy change, a policy level change in healthcare. Also, it could be probably a pricing mechanism, it could be something for financing the healthcare of the marginalized people, or the people who are actually in need. It could be just some changes in the environment which would affect the health of that particular community. So social innovation can take multiple forms. The thing here is that we need to empathize, and we need to be aware and realize. Now, why do we need to do this social innovation? Like, we are scientists, so why not just stick to our high end research, publish high impact factor papers? Why talk about social impact when we can talk about just we are happy with our impact factor social impact factor paper impact factor? But then, when you think as a whole, we are gifted people, we are researchers, we are researchers. We have technology at our hands, and we can mold it in a way, give it a form which can benefit the society. So what can be the outcome when you're working in a healthcare specific, especially say pharmacy people? We can make a solution which enables healthcare delivery to be more inclusive, more effective, and more affordable. Nothing better than this. India has a population of 1.3 billion, with varied geography, with various diverse cultural people residing in our country. Even though we are trying every single day, we are trying to improve our healthcare facilities, we're trying to improve the technologies that we are using, but there's still somewhere, some corner, some person, probably even in the urban tier 1 urban cities also, there is some gap always available there. Also, when we look at social innovation, always social innovation is done so that we can improve the social inclusion, so that the healthcare is not just restricted to people who have access to, or access to the are better in economic condition, but all to all the strata of the society. Another important outcome of social innovation is that it empowers people. So, as a whole, when we are talking about social innovation, as contrary to your general innovation, which we usually do for patenting, for greater profit margins, but then social innovation is something which is done for improving the quality of life, wherein you're trying to achieve justice and equity, and more importantly, bringing a positive social change. Obviously, patents do follow, innovations do follow. You will definitely get with social innovation as well, but that is not the important criteria when you're doing social innovation. In order to support this, so there is this one thing called as UN has given the UN General Assembly in 2015. It gave 17 goals which are all interlinked to each other. These are called as sustainable development goal. Now, if you follow what is going around the world, you would realize that all the governments around the world are working towards achieving these sustainable development goals. Now, what is the sustainable development goal? This has been given by the UN as a collaborative measure to make world a better place for all of us, all inclusive. Healthcare has a very important place in this sustainable development goal. In fact, a lot of funds which are being given, grants which are being given, research projects that are taking place all across the world are are for achieving one of these 17 sustainable development goals. Now, all these sustainable development goals are interlinked to each other. Sustainable Development Goal 3 is the one which talks about good health and well-being. Now, this SDG 3, it aspires to ensure the health and well-being for all, So we can definitely contribute to achieving SDG 3, and get India, contribute to the Indian goals of achieving the SDG. Also, SDG 3 aims at ending the epidemic of AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and some other communicable diseases by 2030. Also, there are other things which are about safe and effective medicines and vaccines. I would just suggest anyone who's doing research in healthcare or public health, or in fact any research should go and read in detail about the sustainable development goals and see how you can place your projects that you're doing with these sustainable development goals. Now, okay, fine, these all things are pretty big things. Government is working on achieving the sustainable development goal, but how, as a researcher, as an academician, as a research scholar, research student, how I can contribute in this thing? So according to a McKinsey recent survey, 40 or nearly 50%, like 48% of respondents, they said that they faced at least one or the other unmet social need. And out of this entire thing, around 60% people said that they had unmet medical need. So as a researcher, what we can do is identify the problem, use our intellect. Since we are gifted researchers, we are scientists, we have that capacity, look for, find solutions which would be for the betterment of the society. Now, how do we identify this problem? Generally, in fact, even probably when I was doing my M Farm, what we did was look at it, just identify a drug, look at its properties, then say, okay, fine, I'm solving this particular problem. But then, say if we, instead of identifying the technical problem in the drug, if we identify what are the societal problems that are available and find solutions for them. So instead of identifying just the tip of the iceberg, how about finding the entire underlying problem which causes a public health issue? So how do we identify the problem? For social innovation, the most important quality or virtue of a researcher, I would say, or a social researcher, or a person who wants to make a social impact, is empathy. Unless and until we do realize what problem the society is facing, we'll not be able to give a solution. So unless and until we step into society's shoe and realize and identify what problem they are facing, we'll not be able to realize. So the best way to do this, talk to people, involve stakeholders. Now what are these stakeholders? Go talk to the patients directly. Say yeah, we are pharmacists, we are pharma researchers, we want to solve problems with medicines, from with drug delivery system probably, or a way of synthesizing. So what we can do, go and talk to the medical practitioners, doctors, and ask what problems are they facing. Probably ask the patients directly. Look around you. Probably someone in your family is experiencing some chronic disorder, and they want us. They are looking for a solution, and there is a greater community beyond the person in your family. There is also a bigger, larger community who's facing the same problem. So the best way to identifying a social problem is involving the stakeholders, talking to the person who's himself or herself facing that problem. Another motivation for social innovation would be probably the problem that you're facing yourself. So so I'll tell you what we did is, when we were trying to when we were building up Cerelia, when we were starting Cerelia, we knew that okay, we wanted to work something on maternal and child health, but we did not know what. So we were in Bhubaneswar. Bhubaneswar is known to have one of the poorest numbers for malnutrition or hidden hunger. So what we realized was, okay, fine, let's go and talk to the Asha and Anganwadi Behenjis. Let's go and talk to the doctors, gynecologists, especially in the rural parts of Orissa. Now, what we realized was, when we were talking to these people, we jotted down some 150 odd problems. 150 different problems which are affecting the maternal and child, the pregnant women or post delivery maternal and child health. Now, when we try to look at these problems, what we realized, all these problems could have been avoided if the nutrition status of the mother would have been maintained, if she was not malnourished. And this was very surprising for us because there are so many government initiatives which give you which there are so many government initiatives which solve this problem, which try to solve this problem. Government spends close to 26,000 crores per year for various nutrition initiatives. There's this one a very famous scheme which I am sure all of you must be knowing. Pregnant women, they get iron and folic acid tablets for free. Even though they are getting it practically for free, still the adherence rate was very poor. Now when we spoke to actually the stakeholders, when we spoke to the pregnant women, what we realized was they did not like taking the tablets. And especially in the rural area, there was very another very shocking problem, which was due to patriarchy. The husband or the mother-in-law would not let the women take these tablets. They would say that, okay, the husband would say, I do all the hard work on the field, you do not require energy, I require all this nutrition and energy, so he would take the tablet. Another shocking reason what we figured out was, when you take iron tablets, your stool color changes to black. Now, considering how obsessed we are with fair skin in India, the mother-in-law, the women would say that they would not give the pregnant lady these iron tablets, because they would think that if the stool color is changing, the baby that would be born would be darker in color. A very simple product which is effective, but however they're not allowed to take it. And also iron causes some gastric irritation. So what we realized was, we need to make a product which would not only solve the nutrition problem, malnutrition problem, maintain the micronutrient reserve, but would also something that the woman would love to use. And that's how we came upon the product that we have developed. So in my what I have realized is, including the stakeholders, talking to them is the best way of identifying the problem. Now, since we are healthcare, we are into healthcare research, some ideas, obviously the list is not exhaustive. Probably areas where you can work on. Maternal and child health is one area which requires a lot of work, because in the gestation period, if the mother is malnourished, if the mother has some problem, the child would be born, would be wasted, would be um, underweight, will have certain nutrition issues and development and growth issues. And this development and growth issue at the beginning of their lifespan will go go probably 50 years ahead, and will lead to even economic crisis if the if the younger population of the country is not properly nourished. Geriatric health is another issue wherein especially in urban areas wherein the families are becoming smaller and smaller, there are very few the health givers or the caretakers are less. So geriatric health is another issue where which requires a lot of work. Hidden hunger for both adults as well as children is another major problem where you can work on. Menstrual hygiene, diagnostics. A lot of work is being done on faster diagnostic, cheaper diagnostic, electricity less diagnostics, which is amazing. A lot of engineers are working in this sector. We heavy pharmacists can do a lot here. Then drugs for rare diseases, like I was mentioning earlier, rare diseases are something wherein say less than 1% of the world population is suffering from them. Now, and these the development cost for medicines or drugs for such diseases is pretty higher. And since there are no uh, profit margins available, because obviously the population is lesser, often pharma companies do not want to work on such diseases. So development of vaccines or drugs for rare diseases is another area where academia or researchers can pitch in. In fact, I know one very nice gentleman. He left his job of 25 years as a formulation scientist, and right now he's working on a vaccine using sugarcane extract for a rare disease. So the vaccine for that particular disease, I'm unable to recall the disease, but then the vaccine for that particular disease is available for more than 18 lakhs per dose. but then what they are trying to develop in his startup is less than 45,000. So that creates a huge impact. Mental well-being is another, especially considering the tormentous time that we have faced in the past due to the pandemic. Mental well-being is another problem which needs a lot of solutions, good solutions, which will have a societal impact. Health policy reform. Obviously, the academicians might have limited say in policy reforms, but then obviously they have the power of publishing. So they have the power of publishing articles. So when you study the policy and find the loopholes in the policy and suggest what type of reforms could be made and publish those reforms, publish the suggestions, it might uh, it might catch hold the attention of the policymakers. Assistive mobility is another major issue. Disability, wherein disability is a problem that requires a lot of innovation, and obviously it has a big social impact if you are trying to if you make some technology which will make their lives simple. Green synthesis is another. It's also part of SDG, wherein you are also working on climate change. It is adding to the fight in stopping climate change. Another area where you could work on is community specific. So I know one disease which is very specific for fishermen in the East Godavari district. So if there are certain community of particular, say, mine workers, they face certain healthcare problems. So if we are probably, if we can develop some products which would help in making their lives better, this will have a lot of social impact. So how you can identify these problems is look at unmet medical needs which are there. If you are very inclined towards a specific disease, look at those diseases, check what is available, talk to people who are actually affected with those diseases, talk to doctors who are treating those diseases, talk to nurses, talk to primary healthcare workers, and see what problems they are facing. Now, when we are talking, so since I am from formulation background, all my life what I have done is probably develop formulations for multiple applications. So so I can talk very in length about how you can develop formulations which would have a societal impact. So what approach I take is go and talk to the patients directly, go and talk to the healthcare workers. So, like I mentioned, we spoke to the pregnant women and we realized that they were not allowed to take the medicines. Also, they were not, there was some compliance issue. They were facing some nausea and vomiting. So, study the age, gender, the stage of the disease. Is there some financial limitation that is there? So, right now, we are developing a protein powder for malnourished kids. Now, obviously, since they are malnourished, it definitely means that they come from a not a very economically affluent background. So there is obviously something. There's obviously economic issue. So we are trying to make a protein powder which would be just 4 rupee a day, which we can give them for just 4 rupee a day. That will cover their person daily requirement for all protein, carbohydrates, fats, and micronutrients. Check if there is some functional limitations, the health conditions, or the medication history. If one disease is leading to another disease. So I know a very interesting project that one of the faculty members has done is everyone wants to make some formulation for cancer, but then cancer patients, they suffer from xerostomia, wherein that is a dry mouth syndrome. Now, there are very few formulations which are available for xerostomia in India, and they're very expensive because not a lot of patients take it. The research scholar with the faculty, what they have developed is a very simple gel which they have to just probably like a lozenge they can keep in their mouth for some time, and that takes care of the dry mouth syndrome for more than 6 to 8 hours. And cancer patients, especially because of radiation therapy, because of chemotherapy, they face this issue. So this is something which is making impact, like it's making their life easier, even though we feel that okay, it's just dry mouth syndrome, why don't they just drink water? There are multiple limitations associated with it. So this is some way how you can solve a problem societal and have societal impact. So and obviously there can be innovation with respect to the dosage form, the route of administration, like our first product that we made, that I was mentioning. It's B12 folic acid iron supplementation. You would say a lot of supplements are available, but we are changing the route of administration. By we spoke to the patients, we spoke to the end users, we spoke to the stakeholders, and what we realized was, okay, there was an unmet need, and if this sort of a product comes up, they would use it and it will make their lives better. It will make the pregnant woman's life better. So yes, there could be innovation in terms of route of administration. So you're not you're doing you're making an impact, a societal impact for a particular community of patients, of end users, and you are doing even your technical innovation, or what you call your product innovation. So when you are like there, I would say there are, like, this is not a hard and fast rule, but then roughly when you want to have a new idea, especially a social idea which has a social impact, so how do we start? Okay, so look for a social challenge, um, something that you are personally facing, probably something that your family members are facing, your friends are facing, some community that you have seen. What is that burning problem, that pressing problem that you are facing? Try to figure out whatever information that you can get, what solutions are currently available. Okay, what solutions are currently available, what is the gap in that solution. Next, ask questions to the stakeholders, collaborate with people, try to figure out what others are doing. Now when once talk to people, talk to stakeholders, collaborate with other researchers, you will have an idea. Whatever, just jot down, you will have an idea. Now once you have an idea, give shape to that idea using your science, using your technology. Make a prototype product. Again, go and talk to the stakeholders. Okay, fine, this is the product that I have made, would you like it? So I'll tell you, when we started developing, we initially developed uh, a gel which has iron, folic acid, B12, which was supposed to be applied on the skin. Now, when we took that prototype to end users, we spoke to close to 150 end users. We gave them the samples to try. None of them liked the product because it did not have a good look and feel. It was not um serving the purpose. So then we came back to the lab, we reiterated the idea, and then we came up with some other product. Again, we went back to the stakeholders, end users, and we tried asking them, okay, would you use this? Then the product was accepted. Next would be get feedback. So, like I mentioned, get feedback from your stakeholders, get feedback from a layman, and see and check what possibilities for social impact your idea has. um, you know uh, what uh, what kind of social impact that you're going to have. So when we started, it was just for maternal and child health, but then in the process we did realize that even geriatrics face a lot of problem. They are deficient in vitamin D, we're deficient in vitamin B12, and they have to take injections, which is really painful for them. So we also extended our technology to geriatric population in order to make an impact on them. So see if you can increase the impact of your product. Now, in order to help you in selecting a topic, or in order to help you in selection, to make it easier, probably there is something called as grand challenge. So grand challenge is a collective term which is used for whatever problems are there in global health and development. Now, so some resources you can go and check Global Grand Challenges site, which will give you whatever. They'll also talk about what innovations are already there. It'll give you some idea about what projects you can work on related to healthcare, related to biotech, pharma, etc. Then there are certain other initiatives also. So now we would say, like, any research that we want to do, we feel that the biggest branch is funding. So there are multiple opportunities, grant opportunities that are available for academia, for students, for startups, for everyone. if you want to get into social research, social innovation, in fact, there are a lot of funds which are just for creating social impact. Global Grand Challenges is one. So then also there are multiple awards which are given to to support the efforts of the social entrepreneurs. So Tata Social Enterprise Challenge, a very prestigious award, is one of them. USAID has another funding opportunity grants, which is just for impact funding. So it will measure like more the social impact that you're making, higher the chances of you getting this fund. Then BIRAC has this excellent opportunity for students, research scholars, post your BPharm or your MPharm or your PhD. So if you're interested in social innovation, they have this social innovation immersion program. In fact, my co-founder had this fellowship, this IIP fellowship. So it's a fellowship, it's an 18-month fellowship wherein BIRAC will give, you get fellowship for that 18-month period. You get very guided and you get a very guided approach how you can immersion program wherein they will make you meet stakeholders. They'll teach you how to, do social innovation, how to look for a research problem, how to look for a solution. They'll connect you with multiple people, and also apart from this, they give you a small amount which could help in developing your prototype. Then another is Sparsh, which is specially for social innovation program for products which are affordable and accessible and relevant to societal health. Then Social Alpha is another organization which works a lot on deep science and technology innovations which are for healthcare. Grand Challenges India is another one, which is in association with BIRAC and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Grand Challenges Canada is another very good funding opportunity, which gives funds for products which are high risk and high social impact. Action for India is another organization which works a lot in social innovation. Now, coming to how academia, can develop a culture for social innovation or impact research. We always talk about research. We always talk about solving some industrial problem, getting patents, and publishing paper. But then no one talks about making a product, developing a formulation for societal impact. So how academia can do this? Um, Big universities like Harvard and UC Berkeley have started this initiative. They have certain programs wherein they do a lot of community engagement. So they bring the stakeholders to the classroom, or there is an immersion program. Like I mentioned, we were in talking to stakeholders in the rural parts of Orissa. Same way, they also do something similar. Whatever problem you're trying to solve, they let them go to that particular community and talk to them. So academia can have some provision wherein at least for probably 1 or 2 hours 2 hours a week or a month, the students could go out in the field and look for problems. Also, it's important that the university or the academia probably should reimagine the role. Generally, we think that the academia or college university is just for making the students employable, teaching them, giving them a degree, and probably doing research and publishing papers. But then probably if the academia can reimagine their role as change maker and develop so many products, develop so many technologies which have a societal impact, and add to the aid in the elevation of sustainable development goals. Also, I know a lot of universities have started courses on entrepreneurship, but then if they could start a course on social innovation, that will make the students more inclusive, more empathetic, and more resilient. Then at policy level also, probably some sort of a community engagement or social impact projects, if it might not be high technology projects, but then something very simple, maybe developing a lab, a healthcare training lab, wherein some already whatever resources that you have, giving it to giving training using those resources. Since you're a health from a pharmacy college, some you have a lot of instruments, probably giving training to students so that to make them employable. That is also having a big social impact because it's making them employable. I know very good universities in India as well as abroad. In fact, Harvard, Stanford have themselves started very specific dedicated centers on social innovation or social research. Now, again, a lot of even Westcop has laid down the foundation for incubation center. So instead of just encouraging students for ventures, why not encourage and support them even for social venture? So this is the way how probably the academia can, and I know this is not exhausted. There will be a lot of other innovative ways how academia can develop a culture of social innovation in their colleges or classrooms. So all I believe in this, I very strongly believe in this thing. Mm, you have just one life, and unless and until if you can make impact at least on one another life, you have lived your life completely. So this was from my end. Yeah, this was from my end. I hope at least one person, after listening to this session, at least one person would work on some social impact project and come up with a product which has a lot of societal impact, and it will be a great thing if that product could be commercialized and actually used for the society. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Anita ma'am.
Any questions for Ruchi ma'am?
I'll be happy to take any questions if there are any questions.
Ma'am, there is a
Yes,
question. How can we choose projects which is useful to us and other peoples?
Like you mentioned, reach out to community and see what problem they are facing. I know there are a lot of problems to be solved, but just like I mentioned, say you are a healthcare. If you want to work into healthcare, some disease specific, go and talk to the person who is actually suffering from that disease, and not just one, but then multiple. And in fact, this sort of a survey could also be part of your MFARM research project. So I'll just say, like at my university, I was kind of helping one student with the farm project. So we did the same thing. The start of the project itself, we had a survey wherein she spoke to around 120 diabetic patients to realize to find out what problem they are facing, and based on whatever what problems they were facing, based on that we designed what the project should be, and what she would work on. So a similar approach would be very useful if you could. Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Rajshri ma'am has a question. I think let us know how to strike balance between university PG specialization and topic of innovation. So, like I already mentioned, like I gave you my example. So even if it was not for my PhD or MPharm research, but then I did not deviate from my field of work, that is formulation development. It depends on what shape you are giving. I was working on formulation. I was working on nano formulation, which was like the in thing. I worked on all the regulatory aspects, the analytical aspects. So this is all part of the syllabus. It's just that the problem statement that you are identifying has to be. So I would like to just mention one. I read about Shivali's research Uh, so she worked on some nail paint with some antifungal agent for farmers. That is a product which is creating a lot of which will create a lot of social impact if actually implemented and validated properly. So it depends on like there are multiple ways. You don't have to completely sideline your specialization, PG specialization, but then there are ways you have to find out, and that's your specialization. So I'm sure definitely if you empathize and look around these global grand challenges and the SDG goals, you can definitely link how you can create a social impact.
Ma'am, another question. How to strike balance between university postgraduate specialization and the topics of innovations?
I think Janvi, I just answered the same question that
Okay,
like
I'll read
how
another one for you. Ma'am, both were the same questions.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you. So if another motivation that you want to do to carry out carry out the social impact projects is nowadays a lot of in fact most of the grants which are given for research projects with high social impact. So that is another motivation for probably the academia to look for problems and solve such problems, and tell like convey in your research proposal appropriately what is the societal problem that you are solving. How do we know unmet needs from clinician? The best would be like Maya mentioned and I have been mentioning multiple times in my presentation is go and talk to them, because unless and until we talk to them, we ask them what problem they are facing, we would never come to know what problem they are facing, because from an outsider's perspective we might not really know what problem they are facing. In fact, a lot of times I'll tell you this has happened with me. One of the products that we were working on, okay, we thought okay ये तो बहुत बड़ा problem है, this is one of the major problem that we are solving, which the doctors are facing for treatment of a particular disease. Now we developed some prototype and everything, and then we went and spoke to a clinician, two, three clinicians, and all of them they straight right or outright rejected. Why you are increasing the cost? This is not a problem. So had we spoken to them earlier, we would not have wasted our time, resource, and money on solving that particular problem. So the best would be go and talk to the stakeholder.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we conclude today's webinar, I would like to invite Dr. Anita Aire, Head and Associate Professor, Department of Quality Assurance, to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ruchi. That was indeed a wonderful session, and thank you for emphasizing on the impact of social innovation and why the students and especially the research aspirants should select such kind of projects which will indeed make a difference to the society. So, to begin with, I would like to thank our management trustee in charge, Shri B.L. Bulani ji, our administrative coordinator, Jharna Das madam, and respected principal madam for continuously motivating us to conduct such awakening and enlightening sessions. And I would also like to thank Ruchi for agreeing to conduct this particular session. I know that it began with a conversation during another meeting, and we have conducted it. And indeed, looking at the responses which we have received in the chat box, it was a very wonderful session. So, thank you, Ruchi, for that. I would also like to thank my colleagues, Dr. Mushtaq Sheikh and Dr. Rajeshri Hirlekar, madam, for their coordination. I would like to thank the entire student volunteer team of Janvi Madhvi, Prajwal Raut, Miss Swarali Bhakre, Miss Trupti Gholap, and Mr. Rohan Ubale for their support in organizing this webinar. I would like to thank our ICT team, Ms. Prachiti, Ms. Khushbu, and Dr. Anand for their backend support. And last but not the least, to all the audience for continuously encouraging us and attending all the webinars which are conducted through the Westcop platform. So keep giving us this support in future as well. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, Janvi, for the concludatory remarks. Janvi, you are on mute. Kindly unmute yourself.
Sorry, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the word of thanks. Now, the link for the feedback form is shared in the chat box. All the participants are requested to fill the feedback form. E-certificates will be issued after all the participants have submitted the feedback form. Do subscribe to our college's YouTube channel, BS College of Pharmacy, and stay connected with the Westcop through social media handles to get information about our upcoming events and activities. With this, we conclude the session. Thank you everyone for joining. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.